Jim's got this one, and certainly this Winfield team now looking very, very strong to be able to outclass their opponents and run longer. They get the psychological edge. Jim can come in, take the 30 seconds for the stop. Mark Scaife can go back out, and they'll be really looking good.
And Jim's performance today certainly put a smile on the face of Ian Kleeman, the old friend with Rothmans.
Larry Perkins into the pits.
Yes, Larry's come in before Jim, who was a little ill last weekend, but up and around again, and he'd be happy with the performance of their team today.
This is amazing. Mark Scaife said at Sandown they've been working very, very hard on fuel economy. This Winfield Commodore is just defying everyone.
Yep, let's go down to Andy.
Thanks, Mike. Just going to try and time Larry Perkins' pit stop here. As you said, a very crucial stop. Looking at being one lap behind. Larry Perkins getting out of the car. Russell Ingall getting into the car. Just spoke with the team manager. They're going to throw about 100 litres of fuel in. They've put on brand new Dunlop tyres. And as I said, Russell Ingall getting into the car. 20 seconds of elapsed now. All is in readiness, so they're just tying in Ingall. 25 seconds, so it's about a 28-second pit stop, and the number 11 Castrol car is back out into pit lane.
Pretty good stop.
A very good stop there, and you saw that really now it's almost longer to get the drivers belted up than it is to get 4 tires on and the 120 litres in. He was actually waiting to get his belt done up before they dropped the car on the track. But here's our leader, Jim Richards, in the best performance we've seen from him all season.
Yes, that 4 pit stop strategy, that's what they are looking at, and that will put them in a terrific situation late in the afternoon, providing this car has no problem. It's been basically incident-free, no pace cars. We haven't seen the Holden Jackaroo pace car out in the racetrack as they make their way down towards the Firestone dip. Here is the top 20 for you as they sit on the road. Lap number 33 with an 18-second break. It is Jimmy Richards over the O'Brien Johnson 18 car. Then it's Seaton and Parsons in the 30 car. 4th is 7, the Gardner Crompton Coke Machine, and 5th is 17, Johnson and Bauer.
Out of 6, Olofsson and Richards hanging on there. 7th place, Alan Jones, Alan Grice and the Peter Jackson Falcon. 8th is Jones and Percy after that stop. 9th, Scott and Cleland still hanging there in the top 10. And Connor and Dorman in the top 10 as well.
11th position, Romano and Dunstan. Good job for those guys. In position 12, Waldock and McLaughlin. 13th, Longhurst and Wayne Park, who's now behind the wheel. 14th position, Finnegan and Gazard. 15th, Poole and Ed Ordinsky.
16th spot, Perkins and Ingold. Then it's Pearson and Stewart in the Product car. Attard and Crick in the Alcare car. 3 is Ashby and Reed in the number 3 car. And 05 has now been retired. They're the positions for the great race, the 33rd edition from Mount Panorama at Bathurst. The Bathurst, Paul Romano, Troy Dunstan in the pits car number 24. Came in, it was smoking very, very badly as it came down the hill towards the pit area, engine off, and they are working on the car. Not a good start. One of the better performing privateers during the course of season 95. Let's go to Andy.
Thanks, Mike. Yes, very disappointing for a good young team, and as you've said, they've had outstanding results so far this year. Troy Dunstan's in the car. It's a bit of a whodunit and what is it at the moment, as Dunstan's in fact getting out of the car, so it doesn't look promising. I've just spoken to Bat Romano, the father of Paul, and he seems to think that the power steering fluid is all but gone. Obviously, it looks a little more serious than that at this stage.
Thanks, Andy.
Suspense will be over shortly. I see activity in the Winfield pit. You think they might come in for a pit stop?
No, they want to go all the way. Let's go down to Richie, who I think is with Thomas Mazzera.
Thank you, Mike. And Thomas, one weekend the HRT team, I suspect, would like to forget.
Well, it's just not very good, as you can see. And, you know, for myself, like, it's the 4th time in a row that I was in a good position and just can't get out of a race for some problems, yeah.
What was the problem?
Well, basically, it's got no oil pressure, yeah.
So the same as the other car. And what about the problems this morning? Did they have anything to do with it?
Oh, well, I think the problem started, you know, yesterday when the car got damaged in the top 10 and we didn't have a chance to run it in the afternoon. And that session sort of really, you know, lost us a lot because we could have found the problem then and fixed it for today. And it was a similar problem in the morning, yeah.
Thanks, Thomas. I'm sure you'll be back next year, though.
Well, that certainly is the kiss of death, and Thomas nominated it. If you can't get out on Saturday afternoon and find out what your car is going to do, Peter Brooks.
Winfield team just come in, we hear. Fortunately, the official lap scoring system having a bit of trouble with it at the moment. We believe this is lap 38 for the Winfield Commodore on 1 tank of fuel, Alan. Can you believe that?
I can. He only needed to go to 41, and he would have had to only stop 3 times. So if you take this scenario out to its logical conclusion, they'll come in their last sector and just throw about 40 litres in it, and that'll be it.
They are just blowing them away at the moment. That is unbelievable fuel economy for the amount of speed and horsepower they're getting out of the car.
38 laps, car 1. And here's our new race leader for the moment. That's car 18, Charlie O'Brien and Stephen Johnson.
So the position on lap 37 before that stop was Richards ahead of Gardner, Seaton, the Johnson car, Alan Jones, Brad Jones, Tony Longhurst. So positions really getting mixed up at this stage with a rash of fuel stops. And the Winfield team,
they've laid the psychological curse on the rest of them now. Everybody will be saying, oh, how did you do that? And the fact that they can do it twice. Mark will have been sitting back there really enjoying watching Jimmy take that car out into the lead, and he'll know how to take this now for another 38 laps.
Well, 18 comes through the turn. Actually, I think you've got to give time here for him to get a lap up, and you will find that, in fact, the number 1 car is still the leader.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think there's a bit of confusion here with the lap scoring system, and I don't know that, I'm not confident that these positions we're being given at the moment are absolutely correct.
Well, I think, you know, they're only scored as they come across here at the start-finishing line, and you'll find that that quick pit stop that the Winfield team did with Jim Richards out of the car and Mark Scaife in, I would be very surprised if they're not already leading. But this is a fabulous scrap here between the 17 car with Dick Johnson at the wheel and also Neil Crompton at the wheel, and we're looking out the back of the Coke car.
so great shot there. Car 17 nudging right up behind the Commodore.
Dick's not afraid to drive in close company, and he knows this circuit like the back of his hand. He's got to have one eye closed at least. He's not worried at all about the fact that he's got a bit of a Coke in front of him.
He's showing a good turn of speed from the Shell Falcon. We're concerned about its straight line speed, but he's sitting in the draft here, taking full advantage.
Here he comes.
A big hole that Gardner's punching in the air for him. 280 clicks, gets right up behind, he's going to take advantage.
It's tough going too. He's earning his keep today, but wow, there you go.
Well, Neil Crompton.
Neil saw that coming and said, fine, you can take it, Dick.
These guys are being very conservative, very clever about the way they're running the race, the Coke team. I'm sure that the Winfield team's fuel economy, though, 38 laps would have sunk everyone here. They can run that fast. And
the Winfield car with Mark Scaife at the wheel is still the leader from Wayne Gardner, and the 17 Shell car in 3rd position.
That sounds right to me.
We just saw that situation change, so that means Johnson now up to 2nd.
Yeah, that's correct.
So this is 2nd and 3rd on the track at the moment.
So it's not all over.
Here's a boy that knows how to get himself from 2nd to 1st. But when we see Mark Scaife on camera, I think you'll see a very, very slick combination here for the rest of the day between him and Jim Richards. And Ian, I know you will be enjoying this.
I think he would be. Ian Clement we were talking about earlier. So Scaife is leading them, car number 17, with a little pressure on here, running in 2nd spot. We take Dunlop Tyres race cam. As Dick Johnson comes on the exit to BP Cutting and works the top of the mountain. Well, it looked pretty abysmal early for some of the chances, Dick, but it's all starting to fall back into place again.
Well, as you know, Michael, it's just, you got to get to the finish first before you can actually
Dick's
beat anyone.
We can't get him at the moment.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, well, sometimes the chopper isn't just absolutely...
Now I got it.
Yep, you can hear me now, Mike.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I'm right, mate. I was just saying it looked back off the pace just a little bit earlier, but all the cards seem to be falling into place.
Well, I think it's just the fact that it's a hot day caught everyone out.
Yeah. Well, at the moment, we see you running in 2nd spot behind Mark Scaife and Neil Crompton back behind you. Car feel good?
The car feels okay. It's just because of the temperature of the day, the old tyres get a bit squishy. But we'll just have to battle on and just hope we can keep up the pace, because those guys up there are the ones we want to nail.
Well, you're not going to let a Yokohama get between you and a checkered flag, are you, Dick?
You got to be joking. You know, I stick with Dunlop.
Enough for the free plugs. Back to you later. Thanks, mate.
No.
Car number 1, Mark Scaife. Lap number 41 continues to lead the great race. The Toohey's 1000 here at Mount Panorama, and Johnson stepping up the pace.
Yes, certainly not out of it.
Johnson comes in to pit straight again. Let's go down to Richard Hay, who was with Jimbo.
Thank you, Mike. Well, Jim, you certainly did a good job out there in the first stint.
Yes, well, the car was great. We sort of knew the race setup would be good all week, so I just drove it virtually as hard as I could, but trying to be a little bit sparing on it.
You seem to get a few more laps out of the fuel than anybody else. Is that because you're a bit sparing on it?
Well, I'd like to think so, but our boys have done a great job on the engine, and we've got it really, really economical, and it's I think we got more laps than anybody at Sandown as well, so they've done a great job.
And Scapey's out there now. There's a bit of confusion with the official scoring. Scapey is still leading the race, yeah?
Oh, by miles. I mean, we were a long way in front when we stopped, and we're still in the lead.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Richard. There's no doubt in my mind.
You never want to scare someone who's got the lead with the thought that there's something wrong with the timing, and you saw how quickly Jim responded to that suggestion that they weren't in the lead. So he said by miles.
I think somebody somewhere's confused the two shell cars and counted them twice or something, and they've got the 18 car up there and it's not there at all.
Well, no, it's working. This shouldn't, because they'll be working off transponders.
There's 100 people in the background that can sort it out, and I hope they do it over the next few laps.
So Johnson in car number 17, running in second spot on the road behind Mark Scaife out there in car number 1, the Winfield Commodore. They're having a great day here at Bathurst.
Here we see him for the first time at speed, coming through the chicane. Look at that, not a wiggle.
Winfield guys, of course, back-to-back winners here, Scaife and Richards in the Nissan GTRs in 91 and 92. 92, of course, was a pretty sour victory for them because the cars were offside with the fans because of their four-wheel drive turbocharged advantages, and it wasn't a happy presentation ceremony for either Mark or for Jim Richards, but these are happier days for them.
Certainly, and they're showing the fruits of their efforts. I like the way these fellows develop. I've had the good fortune to be neighbors for 20-odd years with Freddie in the pits here, and obviously I can observe what they do during the week, and they come in, they do a lap, they go out, they come in, they fiddle, they go back out again. They don't just drive the car around for a lap time. They let the qualifying unfold as it unfolds, but all the time they're thinking about their race package and what's this car going to do with a full load of gas on the set of tires we need to run.
What is it you always say, the harder you work, the luckier you get?
Something like that, Gary. Yes, exactly.
BP cutting the exit. Mark Scaife in the Winfield Commodore starts to just stretch it away a little from Dick Johnson.
This is actually the easiest job in the world, Mike. If you have a lead and your car is going extremely well and you're fit, as both Jim and Mark are, just not to take it up to the limit and cruise it, or not cruise it around, but not hurt it, you can hardly help but win.
At about end of lap number 41, and we have still the number 1 car, the Winfield Commodore, out in front, leading from car number 17, Dick Johnson. Wayne Gardner, Neil Crompton in the 7 car runs back in 3rd spot, then followed by the 2 Peter Jackson cars, Glenn Seaton, and then the 35 car, the Alan Jones car.
Alan Grice at the wheel of that one at the moment.
Then right behind them you have the 4 car.
That's Wynne Percy and then Tony Longhurst in car 25.
Nobody can catch this man at the moment. Looks like the Dillman and Cotter car, number 12, the Australian College of Driving entry, and has had a clip in the wall.
Got the yellow and the green simultaneous, the yellow to warn the drivers that there is a problem, and the green to say it's all clear after that point. So the drivers will catch sight of that very quickly, not actually in a super critical spot.
Here's what happened, Al. You take our replay, and he's got it side off.
Just dug in on him. He wasn't fast enough with the correction there, I'm afraid, and that's going to hurt him. Whether they can push it off or we're going to need a safety car to get this out. They should be able to pull it down, but if a truck has to come out to pull that, it might require a safety car.
Well, they're going to have to, I mean, you wouldn't want to work on that car anyway, exposed to the racetrack.
Oh, absolutely not, but the fellows are reluctant to go out there and push it over. And it would take about 10 of them to push it anyway, so we can only see 3, 4 there, including the driver.
Peter Doom and John Cotter, their first run in the V8. They ran M3 Motorsport, a BMW, for the last couple of years.
Class winners here in that car a couple of seasons back,
Yeah, that's bad luck to see because that's their first race with the machine.
As far as we can ascertain, Michael, the second of the Shell FAI cars, car 18, Charlie O'Brien at the wheel, is in fact running in 8th position behind the second Coke car, Win Percy, and Anders Olofsson in the second Winfield car. So they're certainly not leading the field. They're back running 8th or 9th.
That's true, Gary.
9th, in fact. 9th. I've just had that confirmed.
Here we look at the Longhurst Park car, Wayne Park in the vehicle. Young fellow from Brisbane supporting Tony Longhurst this year. Happy to get as many laps as he can at Bathurst. It's terribly important for the co-drivers to get a run and get a year behind them so that they're considered eligible material for future drives.
Former Porsche Cup winner.
Yeah, and did try to run his own touring car operation for a little while in Brisbane, but with no budget, it's pretty tough. And he's a talented young driver, and it's great that he's got to start with a very professional team.
Well, he'll be able to learn an enormous amount from Tony, and on both fronts, on and off the circuit. And a great opportunity for him here to strike up a relationship with Longhurst Racing and follow in the footsteps.
He makes the run across the mountain as we take car number 30, Glenn Seaton.
Our race cams are so good, Mike, it's hard to tell where we are. When we look out the back like that, we think we're some pigeon flying over the track, but we have to be reminded we're riding with Neil Crompton in the Coke car, and that's one of the PJ machines coming, Glenn Seaton.
Well, there you've got the McDonald's race cam. You've had the nice shot of, and also a brake lock up there at the end. Seaton starting to close now on Neil Crompton in the Coke car. That's David Parsons, of course, in the car. The 30 car comes along pit straight, about to take the left-hander. He's made up considerable ground over the last few laps. Order still, Mark Scaife, the leader by a country mile. Second held down by Dick Johnson in car number 17. Third is Neil Crompton in car number 7, just ahead. And fourth is David Parsons in car number 30, carrying our McDonald's race cam.
Does a pretty good job, David Parsons, for virtually a once-a-year racer, doesn't he?
Very underrated and an extremely good credit to any team, Gary. The fact that he only drives once a year is beyond me. I don't know why he isn't used more often.
Dairy farmer from Tasmania. It does, in fact, have a race win to his credit here in the Peter Brock team.
Well, I know you can't leave the cows alone if you want them to produce for you, but it would be nice to see David doing some of the shell rounds.
Rear end of that Cotter and Dillman car still sticking out there in the middle of the track.
I think that's a bit on the dangerous side.
So that's the Clark, of course, is call. It's up to him, and he's in charge of the race. No one else will interfere with it. Certainly the corner marshals don't have the authority to start trying to get that off the track. It is the Clark, of course's job.
Well, we now have the computer has picked itself up, thank goodness. Fortunately, we have probably the best race scoring man in the world that I know of, and that's Nigel Greenway, who's been with us for so many years. But this guy can score the entire race and is never wrong. I don't think he's ever been wrong. We've had computers go down and people argue, and their scores have finally come back to tally with what Nigel's done. He's just carried us through a period here where we've had a black screen and no computer.
And he does it like a bookie's clerk with a sheet of cardboard and a pencil.
Oh, don't get his... You want money next.
This is Holden Race Cam out the rear of the number 7 Coke machine with Neil Crompton at the wheel, and we are looking back, or we're now looking down from the 7 Chopper and having a look at the Cotter and Dillman Commodore, and they're going to try and move this without necessitating a pace car slowdown, although I guess Larry Perkins for one would be hoping that the yellow flags would come out.
Well, a lot of people would like it. It's certainly one of those situations where you'd think it would almost justify, but Clark, of course, it's his call. He'll do what he feels is best. There's now enough people there that actually could drag it off, but I don't blame anyone for not wanting to walk out there with their backside waiting for one of these cars to come around, Gary.
Oh, you're not wrong. But gee, they've done some damage to that car too, haven't they?
He hit it quite hard.
Taken one side almost completely off, or caved in one complete side of the car.
It was on full power coming up through the cutting, and when it didn't come around properly, it hurt it badly. So here we have
Well, it has it has tightened up behind the race leader.
This is the battle for third and fourth.
Mark Scaife continues to lead in the Winfield Commodore. Second is held by Dick Johnson in the 17 car. Third then is Neil Crompton. Here we have him on screen in car number 7. Fourth, David Parsons, the Peter Jackson number 30 car. Then behind them, 35 car is Alan Grice, the second of the PJ machines. And it's the second of the Coke cars, Win Percy at the wheel. 25 is, of course, Wayne Park. Then number 2, Stephen Richards. 18, Charlie O'Brien, Stephen Johnson. Here we go, across the top of the mountain. And this battle has been raging for the last 5 laps as David Parsons trying to pick his moment to see whether he can get by Neil Crompton. And Crompton is right behind them. I think you'll find that the pace car will come out onto the circuit. Notice it going along pit lane at the moment. Gosh, that's taken a while. When one lap would have...
There it is.
Maybe they could have just given those guys the chance to be able to push the car in, and their lives are on the line out there trying to push cars in behind concrete walls. So what the pace car is trying to do is pick up the leader. That's what he should be doing anyway, and that will be Mark Scaife.
And he's about to do so.
Mark Scaife will come up behind. They'll flag the second of the shell cars by now, if he should.
Actually, I think, Mike, they're going to go out and they'll start waving by. He'll wait for a bit.
Just close them up, Alan, and wave 18 by.
Yes, the plan was to get the leader. That was a bit of a poor call, you would have thought. He should be waving that shell car by.
Charlie O'Brien will be champing at the bit.
Yeah, there's already Mark starting to move back and forth, trying to keep a little warmth in his tires. He's not sure that this is going to take too long, but Clark, of course, did indicate that when the pace car picked up the Congo line, they'd try and find the leader.
Well, they're coming up Mountain Straight. We might recap the top 10 for you at the moment. These are official on lap number 46. We have Mark Scaife in the Winfield Commodore in front. Under yellow, they're closing them up, though. Dickie Johnson sits second in car number 17. Third is Neil Crompton in the Coca-Cola car, number 7. Fourth is David Parsons in the Peter Jackson car. Fifth, you'll find, is Alan Grice in the second PJ machine. Sixth spot, number 4, at the wheel is Win Percy. Seventh is the Tony Longhurst Wayne Park Castrol Falcon. Eighth spot, the Anders Olofsson Stephen Richards second Winfield car. Then it's O'Brien and Johnson in the 18 car. And rounding out the 10, number 11, Perkins and Ingle. It's a tight finish and a lot of racing. Still to go here at Mount Panorama. Don't go away. Back here at Mount Panorama at Bathurst, the 1995 Tooheys 1000 continues. Lap 46 of 161. Into the race, 1 hour, 48 minutes and 20 seconds. And we are under yellow, giving them an opportunity to get the Cotter and Dillman car back behind a concrete wall on top of the mountain. And the pace car, the Holden Jackaroo. And Holden are very, very supportive of this year's race at Mount Panorama. First time we've actually seen the pace car today.
Yes, it is, Mike, but it's manna for heaven. It's manna from heaven for the Shell team. It's a nice little blessing for the Coke team. It's just giving these fellows that have got a little bit away from the leader a chance to regroup, but the Coke team are in great shape because they're right there on the same lap.
What do you say, Neil? Agree with that?
Yeah, we're not in real bad shape, Mike, although the car's picked up a pretty severe push in this stint. I don't know whether it's because the temperature's a little warmer or whatever, but I see that we're still up near the top of the leaderboard, and I'll keep on trying to stroke the car along as best I can. I've made a couple of little changes inside, and I'll see how we go. I think this cool-down period that we're going through now might actually help us just a little.
Neil, when you say push, you mean a little bit hard to steer, or doesn't quite steer the way you want it to?
No, it's picked up probably the most severe understeer that I've ever experienced.
Well, that's nasty.
Well, right behind you is David Parsons, carrying also one of our race cams. David, how's your day going?
Yeah, really good. They're still having a bit of trouble with a bit of push. I'm sure I can help him out.
Oh, stop it. You two want to have a chat together?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? G'day, Skip. How are you, mate?
Good. How's yourself?
Not too foul. Hey, these things are a bit quicker than the old BMW we flogged around here together, aren't they?
Absolutely. That thing wants a plug lead pulled off. It's like it's getting too much squirt.
Now, listen, you're not allowed to pass. They're the rules of engagement.
Okay.
Is that all right? You reckon that's a fair thing?
Oh, well, we'll just see what happens. Like, you never know where we can sneak past.
If you stay back there, I'll buy you a nice cold Coke.
Will you?
Yep.
You're a generous young fella today.
What you're doing is a world first here, you fellas. You're sounding like the astronauts on Apollo 13, talking back and forth to Houston. It's just fabulous. Another 7 first for viewers around the world to have two opponents on the racetrack having a chat, asking what's going on.
Is this where we say, Mount Panorama, we have a problem?
Exactly.
All right, Skippy, if you're going to blow him off, be very clear and very concise about it, because he's going to be hard.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, well, might have to under the doors a bit, try and sneak past and let him open.
Well, he's got his plug in for Coke. Good luck to you. Thanks for the chat, boys.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, bye.
Yes, a little bit of technology, and what was considered impossible years ago, to have two drivers in the same race, one running back there in 3rd spot and the one running 4th, having a chat to themselves during the yellow flag behind the Holden Jackaroo.
Lights are off on the Jackaroo, so we're going to get green light for go when they get back to the start-finish line.
Yes, the safety car has 2 signs: follow me, as if we were at runway 1 at Sydney, or pass me, and they'll be getting the wind-up. The rules say when the green flag hits at the start-finish line, the flag points around the track, pick up the green flag, and they're off. So there's still a yellow on the right-hand side. Red light on the safety car still. Pace car in America, safety car everywhere else in the world.
Yes, they do. This will be interesting, warming up the tyres. The Jackaroo, Perkins is right behind him, wants to get a lap back. John Cleland is in there as well. And Johnson will be on the move. So too Neil Crompton and Skippy Parsons in the Peter Jackson car.
All the drivers getting a nice little breather, Mike. Not that Mark Scaife has been in there too long. All the co-drivers really haven't had a hard run so far, but still just a little breather. And again, very good on the fuel economy. If you think the Winfield team did 38 laps last time, watch what they do this time.
Watch this. Perkins is ready to race. So too Mark Scaife. They're coming in. The race now resumes. Scaife out there in front. Johnson in 2nd spot. There's Johnson. You can see him. One's gone wide on the exit. I think that was the Mark Poole car. And Perkins starts to close it up a little on the back here of Mark Scaife. Lightning Larry's has got a sniff once again of some open travel.
I think it was the Mark Poole car, isn't it? Ordinsky driving that?
Yes.
You know, all that off-road stuff.
Tony Longhurst's car. Wayne Park comes in. I wouldn't think that would be scheduled. Let's go down to Andy.
Mike, it actually was scheduled. Tony Longhurst was keen to get back into the car. He did a stint of about 27 laps earlier on. In fact, Team Castrol and Tony Longhurst, as a foot rolls across a tyre across the foot. Tony was under the impression we were going to have another lap with the pace car, and very disappointed when the pace car came in.
I bet the 18 car is in. Stephen Johnson there was talking. They've got some problems too in the 18 car.
They keep working on that front brake balance. I don't know. They're bleeding the brakes. Yep, there's the AP 6-spot calipers, 6 pistons per caliper. They pull these cars up like crazy, but obviously a little niggling problem there for Stephen Johnson and Charlie O'Brien.
Well, yes, and you can see the look of disappointment on Stephen Johnson's face. Charlie in the car. There's not much they can do about that.
This place's second name is called Disappointment City.
Larry Perkins, Mark Scaife. Larry's just deciding this time, race or no race, he doesn't want to get too far back behind Mark Scaife. Scaife, Johnson, Gardner, Seaton, Jones. That's the order. And a bad break for Tony Longhurst with the Castrol Ford.
Yes, he's out of sync now, Mike. He wanted to take advantage of that pace car to give him a gap up, but not to be.
Larry's brought the crowd alive. He's back down there in 10th spot, but I think he'd like to get past Mark. He's got a legion of followers here in the Castrol Commodore. Wind has really picked up in the last 10-15 minutes.
Yes, we've got a crosswind against them coming up pit straight. And here we are on board with Neil Crompton again in the...
You'll notice there that he's trying to fight that steering problem, and I think it's Parsons, a little wave to the pits as he went by, and Parsons has been able to get by. So that has changed just marginally the positions, with Skate for leader, Johnson second, and now Glenn Seaton and David Parsons a third. Wayne Gardner and Neil Compton are in fourth place, and their second car is in fifth. Brad Jones and Wyn Percy.
So, definitely brake problems for the Shell team. Pedal to the floor. This is not the place to have the brake pedal on the floor. Only ever had it happen to me once, and I had a lifetime of frights for 10 laps around here. Don't envy anybody trying to do it. They have to fix that.
How good in the old days were the big machines that you drove around here and had to nurse home?
Well, they weren't good at all, mate. I often felt that I could have gone to Hollywood at any time and taken Fred Astaire's job, because I was so good at the tap dancing in between corners with the left foot pumping up the pedal. He virtually never dared hit the brake pedal without having the left foot assure you that there was a brake pedal to hit.
You mentioned the wind has picked up, and we've just had a quick word with the Weather Bureau, and they say this wind is blowing in a change. We're likely to get some showers after about 1 o'clock. That's Eastern Standard Time, so just over an hour from now, possible showers, and that might be followed up by a thunderstorm.
Yes, some big, nasty clouds rolling in over the top of the mountain right at the moment, and although the sun's shining bright for these fellows at the moment, as we ride with Larry Perkins down Conrad, just fade to the left here as he takes the chicane into Caltex. Left-hander, they have to pull it up, second gear.
Well, having done a stint in the pits for us, it's nice to welcome Richard Hay to our race setter. And it's been a busy time down there for you.
It's been very busy down there and very hot too. I wouldn't mind a shower. I'm not sure that these guys would agree, but it's very hot. I think that's been one of the problems that's been affecting everybody, particularly with tyres.
Yes, it has caught them out. We saw a bit of it yesterday afternoon. It was very warm just for the 1 hour session yesterday afternoon. We had to see a lot of people pulling tape off the radiators to keep their water cool. But it's not the water that's such a worry as the tires getting too hot.
Russell Ingall is at the wheel of the Castrol Commodore at the moment, former Australian Formula Ford champion. Been racing in Britain for the last several seasons, so you'd have seen a bit of him, Richard.
Yeah, he's done a very fine job, actually. It's unfortunate that he didn't get the breaks that perhaps other drivers have had, and otherwise he would have made his way, I'm sure, further in the sport. But he's returned to Australia now and is doing a fine job here.
Yeah, he's looking at putting together a deal for the full Australian Touring Car Championship next year. Now 29 years of age, and comes from Sydney, although has spent quite a deal of time in England the last couple of seasons, and in doing so has won the British Formula Ford Championship, former Australian Formula Ford champion. He also finished runner-up there back in '91, and it was the Formula Ford victory here, of course, that got him his initial trip to Europe and got him the wealth of experience he's had there the last 5 years.
Well, there's few people that successfully go to Europe and pull it off. Alan Jones comes to mind, and he did it extremely hard. But I can remember early in my own career, if I had a place to starve to death, I wasn't going to go to England and face the chances. I came to Australia and figured I could at least understand the language, Richard.
Well, one of the big problems, of course, is money. You know, you're talking about 150,000 plus Australian dollars to do a season in Formula Ford alone, and you can more than double that when you go to Formula 3, and somebody has to pay for that. And I'm afraid, you know, if you can't pay for it out of your own pocket, you can't find a sponsor, then you really don't stand a chance.
Holden Race Cam will reveal to us that Neil Compton at the wheel of the number 7 Coca-Cola Commodore is still out there struggling despite this steering problem that has developed with the car during his stint on the track, and trying to ward off his teammate Wyn Percy in the number 4 Coke machine at the moment. I suggest, Neil, you put another $1 in, you might get a bit more out of it.
Well, Wyn will be loving this. He does love Bathurst. As Richard interviewed him on the start line, he said he likes to come back. This is his 10th time around the Martin. He's really qualifies as a new Australian now, and having a great time here running with his teammate.
Well, he tells me there is some possibility of him moving down here permanently in the coming 12 months.
Well, I know that's crossed his mind before, and he has spent an awful lot of time here. Wyn would like, I think, to look perhaps towards a team manager role or something of that sort in the future. He's done less driving this year. He's done a bit of driving in the big GT or sports cars. He's driven a Jaguar. He's also driven a thing called a Harrier in the British.
That's a jet, isn't it? A jump jet.
Not as such, but
not when it's on the ground, Gary.
No, it did do an impression of one in the one race he was in, actually.
A great credit to these teams. I've always said getting one car to the start line is a momentous task. Getting two to the start line is not twice that work. And here we have them running both 1-2.
Well, noted about the leader, Mark Scaife, and the Winfield Commodore running in second is Dick Johnson, car number 17. David Parsons runs third in car number 30. Then behind him, Neil Crompton, the first of the Coke machines, and then it's Win Percy in the second of the red and whites.
Sixth place is being held down by Alan Grice in the second of the Peter Jackson cars, and then Anders Olofsson in the second Winfield machine. Eighth place, Wayne Park in the Castrol Falcon. Charlie O'Brien in the second of the Shell cars is in ninth spot, and Russell Ingle, we've been talking about, behind the wheel in the Castrol Commodore.
In 11th spot, car number 21 is John Clellan, the Pinnacle Commodore. 12th spot, 49, that's the Attard Crick Alcare air conditioning car. 13th is 3, Ashby and Reed, Lansvale Smash Repairs car. 55, Parsons and Crick and the Parsons Transport Commodore running 14th. 15th is 33, the Pearson and Stewart.
16th spot now held by Poole and Ordinsky. 17th, Finnegan and Gazard. Waldock and McLaughlin hold down 18th spot at this time. Gulson and Lamont in 19th position, and O'Brien and Callahan rounding out the top 20 here after 51 laps.
And once again, welcome back to Bathurst. The second hour has been pretty difficult for a number of the teams. It's been a problem hour as we take a look at some of the highlights. This is the Waldock McLaughlin car. They're still going, by the way, the Komatsu Falcon. Steve Johnson came in with brake problems, the second of the Shell FAI team. They're still out there with Steve Johnson and Charlie O'Brien. But big problems for Peter Brock and Thomas Mazira. I say big problems, they're out of the race. No oil pressure there for Mazira. Just one lap this year. He said it was the fourth time in a row. Brock came in with high hopes. They had the crash yesterday in the Toohey's top 10, and it really has set them back. So no setback, though, for Scaife and Richards. They've been outstanding. They lasted 38 laps before they came in for fuel. What efficiency. And they've really set the standard. Johnson was able to pass Crompton and move from third into second place. Both these cars have had a few little problems. Bow was complaining about some problems early on, but this is the biggest problem. John Cotter and Peter Dorman just after the cutting, and this crash actually held everybody up. The safety car finally came out, and the race has now resumed. Now, a reminder about Watch and Win. First three, well, if you're with the Holden Racing team, you better get on the phone because both the Lowndes and Brock cars are out. It's 0055 60677. First, second and third over the line. The prize is a beauty. That SS Commodore, over $42,000. You've got until 3 o'clock this afternoon to give us your first, second and third as many times as you like. You can get on the phone, 0055 60677, the Watch and Win.
Thank you, Bruce. As we follow the second of the PJ cars and the 21 car as they head down to the end of the straight. Tony Scott, John Clellan, and right behind him is David Parsons. I've had to put a lap on him, I believe, as they come across the start-finishing line. He'll swing maybe to the inside. He just trails him up through here, and John Clellan, a return to Mount Panorama, loves the place, the British 2-litre champion, and he's had a wonderful season, Richard Hay.
He has indeed. It's gone fantastically well for him. In fact, the problem that he had during qualifying at the top of the mountain when he hit the wall, he said to me it's the first time in 25 races he really had a worry. It really has gone very well for him indeed as Parsons goes past Tony Scott at the wheel of car 21 at the moment. So Parsons puts a lap on him. But Clellan absolutely adores the mountain. He thinks it's wonderful.
Well, they're at a good sponsorship package. Pinnacle Motorsport, Nokia telephones have taken care of them to ensure that John Clellan could make it back here. And for a guy who's won the 2-litre championship in Britain, to come here and play with the V8s, and he makes no apologies for it. He said they are just an exciting car to drive here at Mount Panorama. I think he's done great.
He certainly picked up on the fact that they were a lot heavier than what he flies around in England on. 1,350 kilograms, V8, 4980 cc, just on 5 litres. Push rod, of course, electronic engine management and fuel injection. That's normal these days. power about 550 to 600 horsepower at 7.2. Torque 420 foot-pounds. That'll pull you away from the lights on a Friday night. Transmission, a Hollinger, our fabulous Australian-made 6-speed gearbox. The brakes, you can see for yourself the size. The wheels, 17 inches, most of them all imported from Italy or England, and tires on that particular team, as you saw.
We saw earlier, car number 24, that was Troy Dunstan. They were in with a power steering problem, and the car is now back on the racetrack on lap 53. So hopefully Paul Romano and Troy Dunstan will be able to soldier on. And here is Scott going through in the Pinnacle car. I think probably one of the best turned out cars. The livery on this is just spectacular.
Yeah, great job the pair of them have been doing. In fact, they've been the leading privateer team throughout qualifying. They're the leading privateer team, running in 11th spot at the moment. And
well, that's very commendable, because there's some tens of millions of dollars in front of them, and some very respectable $1 million teams that aren't even out there anymore. So let's give them that pat on the back that they richly deserve.
Here's another of the privateers that we've followed through the season, David Attard and Rodney Crick, going through, won the Privateers Cup that we ran in conjunction with the championship, the Privateers Dash for the season that you saw on 7. Very, very consistent throughout the year. Rodney Crick needs no introduction, second generation driver, the son of Peter Crick, who was one of the best short track racers in Australia during the 70s and 80s. And Rodney is an outstanding contributor to truck racing in this country. So he's having a great run. Tyre Seal, the sponsor, Alcare Air Conditioning, as they head up into BP Cutting.
What you're looking at here is the fruits of your work. The Alcare car, 10 rounds of the Shell Championship. The team were able to overcome handling, fiddly little things, and running strong here because they put so many things to bed over the Shell Series.
one of the great things about touring car racing in the 90s is the fact that the privateers can go out, get hold of a car at reasonable cost and compete with the front-running teams, with the big-budget teams, isn't it?
All they need to apply is racecraft, a lot of dedication, people that are prepared to work hard, and have a sufficient budget to purchase the avant-garde components. There's no use kidding yourselves that you can have Model T equipment and drive them like a Ferrari. And you've hit it on the nose. The formula is so good. Respectable funding can get you out there. A lot of good work and a lot of hard work will get you a lot further. And these fellas have proven that.
My apologies to Greg Crick. I was giving Rodney a terrific rap there, and it was Greg, the Tasmanian, who has run a couple of rounds of the Touring Car Championship and is in there having a run today. And hopefully they'll finish it off. David Attard, as I mentioned, has done a great job during the season with the Alcare air conditioning machine. So Finnegan Gazzard car, the Sony Auto Sound car, down in the pits for a stop. Wind still quite brisk here. Very, very hot day at Mount Panorama. And the Ashby Reed Commodore. Now, this is one of the more striking cars, the paint scheme. You get onto a season whereby everyone wants to run a blue car or a red car. This is the Maguire's car, Lansvale Smash Repairs, and co-sponsored by ICI Autocolour. Yes, two great blokes too, aren't they, Alan?
Yeah, they're very, very amenable and very personable, and they try hard. They don't mix up their ambitions with their abilities. They've got a budget that they work to. They run their business. They don't let their business get out of sight. And every year come to the mountain with a beautifully prepared car. They've won the Dulux Award many times, and certainly here today looking pretty as a picture.
Won it so many times that ICI Autocolour got behind them. The Maguire's Car Products entry number 3. Steve Reed there at the wheel. The support from McGrath Holden from Liverpool. 2BB Cutting, and they're running 13th on the road at the moment.
And we are talking about Liverpool, New South Wales.
Correct.
Not Liverpool.
That's right. Don't get excited, Richard.
Okay. Across the top. Tricky part of the circuit. Lunge down into that. You have to come across here to the left, fade to the right. You don't want to get anywhere near those ripple strips. Hardly ripple strips. They're international standard curbing, which a Kenworth truck couldn't do any damage to. But hit them in a Group A car and you know all about it. Down through the cutting. Sorry, the dipper.
Firestone Dipper.
Okay, the Firestone Dipper. Great name. next to Goodyear, famous American tire company.
Just to complete it, commercially out of tyre power turn onto the straight. So Steve Reed continues in car number 3, 13th on the road at the moment. Only 1 or 2 spots back behind David Parsons and Rodney Crick. So the 2 Cricks up there separated by 1 car.
Give you an idea of the temperature out there. It's 33 degrees centigrade, the track temperature.
Well, that's making your tires work, and they can stand a lot of heat, but they can't get to the point where they go past their operating levels, and they turn into marshmallows. We've heard Dick Johnson mention.
David Parsons, we have 2 David Parsons in the field. David from Tasmania, the dairy farmer from Devonport. He's riding with Glenn Seaton in the Peter Jackson 30 car. Then we have another David Parsons, privateer, running with Rodney Crick in the Parsons Transport car, and they are very, very well placed at the moment. 55, running back there in 14th spot. And they've had almost a perfect preparation. Privateers again. I just hope a lot of our viewers at home can appreciate the difference between the privateer and the very strongly supported factory entrance.
Well, I think the real main difference that has to be appreciated, that fellows of David Parsons' limited experience can't be expected to drive the car around with the verve that Mark Scaife is doing at the moment. But that's not to say that he isn't 100% committed to his exercise. And in golfing parlance, he's playing a very good round.
Here comes Dick Johnson in car number 17, still running second on the racetrack, about to put a lap on his second car, the 18 car, Charlie O'Brien at the wheel. There behind Bill O'Brien. He's getting a bit of airtime today on the Everlast machine.
Yeah, unfortunately, every time we see a Shell car where they get near, Dick will be saying, please, mate, just stay in the left-hand lane. I'll pass you at my own choosing. Dick very upset about the accident with that Everlast car a year ago, 2 years ago, when they demolished his car up at Reed Park. So here we have them, beautifully prepared cars. This is a team in action, father and son on occasions, but on this occasion, co-driver, having a little chat there. Dick never afraid to talk back.
Well, as he comes
Going
across...
up Mountain Straight, just till he looked me through, he's holding me up.
There you have it, instructions from the boss. Tell him to get out of the way. And that's fair enough. The lead driver, it's his company, it's his team, it's his money, and he's got a fellow co-driving his team car that he feels is holding him up. He's given the raspberry to the team manager and said, get on the blower and tell him to move.
Is that a raspberry you gave him, Dick?
Hello?
Wait.
Is that a raspberry you just blew him?
You what?
I said, I thought you blew him a raspberry, asked him to move over and give you a shot.
This is not a race between each other, it's a race
That's right.
for those other 2 dudes up front.
Okay, he's still running strongly, Dick, running second in the race at the moment. You've got Seaton, Gardner, Jones and everyone behind you, and the car feel good?
The car feels great, Mike. It's just the fact that the old tyres are getting a bit soft, but not a lot we can do about that. Just got to grin and bear it.
Yeah, but everything else feels good in the car?
Oh, yeah, fantastic. It's just the fact that she hasn't got the grip that we want, but we got to drive it at 15 tenths just to stay anywhere near these guys in front. If they're cruising, I tell you what, I'll feel like sticking my fingers down my throat.
Oh, give us a break. Not on race cam.
You wouldn't like to be having a couple of the CAM's committee in the back seat at the moment just to show them how hard it is, Dick.
Yeah, it's a little bit more difficult than what it looks, I can tell you.
Yep. Well, I can appreciate that.
But there's still a long way to go. You never know what may happen, do you?
Well, carry on. Have a good day.
I will.
Okay, buddy. Let's go down to Andy, who's with John Bow.
Yeah, certainly one very interested spectator seeing what the Shell number 17 car is doing. John, second place at the moment, but still a little bit of catching up to do.
Yeah, Dick's doing a tremendous job. I mean, the fact of the matter is that the Falcon is no longer the quickest car. The Commodore is the quickest car by a reasonable margin. So to be hanging in there, we've got to run a very hard tyre because since they changed the aerodynamic package, it's much harder on its tyre. So we've got to run a grade harder, to put it in simple terms, than a Commodore. And for him to still be hanging in there, he's doing a good job.
John, the Fords were given a 50-kilogram penalty, but as you said earlier, it's not so much the extra weight, it is that 200mm modification of the front spoiler.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that there shouldn't have been some parity adjustment, but there's certainly been too much, and we are really struggling. We're hanging on by our fingernails, mate.
John, we'll be hanging there with you. We wish you the best for the afternoon.
Good on you, thanks.
I don't think that's a public relations statement. It's very, very hard for these fellows to swallow these handicaps that come in just on 30 days before the major race. The Holden teams were definitely not getting anywhere in the Shell Touring Car Championship. The Performance Review Committee at CAMS deemed it fit to levy a penalty. They did it by taking 200mm off the under tray of the Falcons, and that might not sound like much, but believe me, where a couple of millimeters makes the difference with an aerodynamic package, it was a fairly fearful cutback.
At the moment, Mark Scaife in car number 1 is in that particular spot and doing a good job. That's lap 59. Running in second is Nicky Johnson. Third, David Parsons. Fourth is Neil Crompton in the 7 car. Fifth is Win Percy in the 4 car for Coca-Cola. In 6th spot, Jones and Grice in the 2nd of the Peter Jackson Falcons, followed by Longhurst and Park in the Castrol Falcon. Then it's Anders Olofsson and Stephen Richards in the Winfield Racing Commodore. Perkins and Ingle run inside the top 10 in 9th spot. And in 10th spot, it's O'Brien and Johnson in the Shell Falcon. What a race, and more to come.
Back at Mount Panorama, we've got 61 laps gone, which means 100 laps to go in the great race, the Toohey's 1000 for 1995, and we're looking at car 33, the Product Commodore, and one of the privateer entries that are doing battle here against the big teams this weekend, Bob Pearson and Bruce Stewart from Sydney. Good old campaigners who really enjoy their motorsport and enjoy being out there and just competing. They know that unless everybody falls over, Alan, that they're not going to be up there in the top half dozen anyway at the end of the day. But they are enjoying themselves, and they've got the experience to do it, enjoy it, and not get in anybody's way.
And they know their own personal best, and they've taken a great deal of pride in preparing the car, and they've got a nice tight-knit team, and they will feel very proud of it to be running out there. They're looking a lot faster than a couple of others. I can see a black and green car still in the pit lane, and there's a few others that aren't looking too fast. So the good old Product Commodore looking quite decent here at the moment with 60 laps down.
At the head of the field, the number 1 Winfield Commodore with Mark Scaife at the wheel continues to lead the race by a 9-second plus margin over the number 17 Shell FAI Falcon of Dick Johnson and John Bower. Then Wayne Parsons in the first, David Parsons in the first of the Peter Jackson cars, the number 30 car that he co-drives with Glenn Seaton, followed in turn by Neil Crompton in car number 7 for Coca-Cola, then Win Percy in car number 4 for Coca-Cola, and then we have Alan Grice in car 35, the second Peter Jackson car, then Tony Longhurst in the Castrol Falcon, followed by Anders Olofsson in the second Winfield car, car 2, and then car 11, the Castrol Commodore Larry Perkins, who after the mishap of having to pit at the end of lap 1, back in the race and back into the top 10. And if you're wondering what's happened to the Holden team cars, 05 and 015, sad tale to tell, and the man to tell it is with Bruce McAvaney in our pit studio.
That's right, Gary. Peter Brockett, you've been the biggest casualty, haven't you, so far, the Holden racing team?
Yeah. Boys are a bit nonplussed. I suppose we're quite surprised because we've had no engine problems whatsoever in the last 18 months, and we've fitted 2 brand new engines. Gave them a little bit of a kiss and a cuddle and massage them and what have you, put them in the car, said this is it, these engines will never break. And both immediately had start-up problems with oil pressure, fluctuation of oil pressure, and they checked the oil pumps and all the mechanical bits and pieces. And anyway, I started off the race, and Mike ran absolutely perfectly, and got to the first fuel stop and thought, yep, looking good here, 05's looking good, cruising. And Thomas got in and came back in 1 lap later and said the oil pressure bit is not good.
Peter, what about the kiss and the cuddle you gave the car yesterday in the Toohey's top 10? Did that have anything to do with today?
No, none at all. No, in fact, the team recovered brilliantly from that. Really, quite often a situation like that, a team can lose their sort of focus a bit, but they worked all night. They went home at 5:30 this morning, had a shower and came back to the track. They were feeling pretty good about things. We didn't really have this problem ever rearing its head before with this oil problem, and quite honestly, they're a bit deflated right now, but they know that they gave it the best shot and that, you know, it just wasn't our day.
Must be tough for Craig too, who got pole at 21 years of age.
Well, I've been talking to Craig and to young Greg. I said, look, there's one way of looking at it. I mean, motor racing is very much a character-building exercise. If you want to know about disappointment in life, how to cope with anything, get involved with a dynamic sport like motorsport, and you experience all the highs and lows you could ever expect in a lifetime. And it teaches you to cope with things. So I said, you'll come back with it. You'll come back. Don't lose your cool.
Two quick questions. Richards, out there for 38 laps.
Yeah, staggered. My car was misfiring after 29, I think it was, something like that. And I flicked on the reserve pump. And the boys said, well, after all, you had done one extra lap of warm-up just to check the car this morning without topping up. I said, yeah, that's a long way from 38. So there are some questions being raised, I suppose. What on earth, how do you do it? I mean, that's an enormous gap. You can understand 1 or 2 laps.
And the heat?
The heat, immediately I went out there and I found that I had a very soft compound tyre on, or a softish compound tyre on, which was going to be suitable for cloud cover or cooler conditions, which you would expect either early in the morning or late in the afternoon. But after having done 10 laps, I said to the boys, I'm just going to take it easy here and just work my way through the field, because this is hard compound territory right now. And I'd suggest that most of the cars that are out there are probably got very hard compounds on. They're driving it very accurately.
Peter, bad luck.
That's the way it goes.
Thanks very much, Peter, and to Bruce McAvaney. Rocky will come bounding back. I don't know what year we're going to get that 10th up there.
It amazes, sorry Alan, it amazes me that Peter Brock is able to maintain that philosophical outlook and his good humour. When you consider all the hype and all this thing about can he win number 10, he goes out there and all this goes wrong, and yet he can sit calmly and cool and dispassionately discuss the whole issue.
That's right. Here's a car that we've been looking for on the racetrack, doing a good job. Car number 38. Now, at the moment, it's running back in 16th spot. South Australian combination of Mark Poole and rally specialist Ed Ordinsky.
He won the mobile rally around Australia earlier in the year. This is his first sight around Mount Panorama. It'll be interesting for him. I think a driver of enormous natural talent, and if he was to get a decent shot at the touring car driver, he'd acquit himself pretty well, Alan.
Well, if he's managed, and not if he has, he managed to win very effectively the mobile rally around Australia. 3 weeks on the road shows one thing: he can concentrate. And that's a nice attribute to be taking to any Group A team.
As Michael mentioned, this car in 16th position at the present time. Been running pretty much trouble-free, but they are anticipating a stop in about 2 laps from now. In fact, on lap 66, they are scheduled to come in for a brake pad change.
I think that's Rodney Crick just behind him, coming up on the inside. Clean pass, holds across to let him through. No problem there. There's quite a number of the privateers. We're trying to go through all of them a couple of times today for you because they deserve coverage. It's a big effort. A lot of money to be spent coming to Mount Panorama for this once-a-year contest. A lot of people build to it. These privateers, many of them don't run the full Australian Touring Car Championship calendar. And quite a few of them, Alan, are doing very, very well here this year.
Yes, they are, Mike. And I think to get it into layman's terms, when you figure there isn't a team here that hasn't got a $10,000 hotel bill, try that some weekend when you haven't got anything to do with yourself.
$10,000. I didn't have a bed at all. It didn't cost me anything. I just camped out.
And that's
there isn't enough gypsy in the rest of us to get around in the get-up you had on last night.
Okay, into car number 38, the exit tyre power turn, and John Bauer is saddled up or geared up and ready to go. Waiting to take over from Dick Johnson in the 17 car. The Stone boys taking care of the 17 and 18 cars. They do a fabulous job. I think it's the Kevin Waldock car, the Komatsu car. And it looks strong now. It had some problems earlier this morning. Kevin Waldock and Mark McLaughlin.
It's another car that is prepared in southeast Queensland up at the Gold Coast. Kevin Waldock has been campaigning for the last 6-7 years now in the touring car ranks. Overcame a small problem, 3 years ago now. Was in hospital, rushed off to hospital for heart surgery.
That's right, he had a ticket.
Yeah, bounced back, had it fixed up, and I tell you what, there's no place for the faint-hearted around here at Mount Panorama, so he's proving that the surgeons really knew their job.
They certainly did, because this is not the place you want to have your plumbing worry about your plumbing.
Kevin Waldock and Mark McLaughlin, the Komatsu Falcon. And which one? Don't tell me it's fluid all over the racetrack.
Can't tell from behind.
It's one of the Winfield cars. We've only got the... I saw the car skate across it. It is won the race leader, Mark Skate. And it is out of power. He's
hurt. We heard some clunking, Mike. I bet a gearbox on that one. That was a nasty clunk to be picking up.
It's out of go. They think they may be out of gas, but I was spraying something out the back.
I don't believe that. It
can't be out of gas.
No.
Not based
on. It's a bit more of a worry than that. He managed to go 7 laps longer than anybody else.
His worry now is he's going to stall in the little switchbacks, the wiggles that slow the cars down onto the pit lane. It's an uphill gradient up, even though he's number 2 in the pits. He hasn't got enough steam under him to get it up to the pit lane.
And I tend to agree. If they could stretch it out for 38 in the first session, they're not going to be underscored in the second.
No, not for 27 laps, which is what they've done since the refuel. So
there's Fred at the ready. He's been on the mic. He's hearing something from Mark.
Look at this door open.
He's getting ready to push it. He knows he hasn't. Oh, he's going to make it.
He's ready.
He'll go past the Synovus pit now, and he's in.
Well, he was thinking about it in case he didn't have it in. Get out of the car quickly. Let's go down to Mark.
Yeah, indeed, coming in very slowly. They've shut the engine down. Scape is staying in the car. He looks like he may be unhooking something. There's a lot of work going on underneath the car. A few guys climbing under there with spanners. It looks like they're concentrating work around the drive shaft area, the propeller shaft, which delivers the power from the gearbox to the diff. Plenty of frantic work going on there, so that would have been an explanation for all the clunking. Boy, where are we? Lap 65, the leader in big trouble at the moment.
Yes, they can't get that fixed in a hurry. Mark's decided to get out. He knows that it's going to take a few minutes, good number of minutes, to get a tail shaft out. They'd be lucky if it is just a tail shaft. They don't want it to be an axle.
And this
is the dream run now for John Bowe, Mike.
Yeah, well, not only that, but then you've got David Parsons and Glenn Seaton. There's nothing. That could well be the one that got away after looking bulletproof. The one car, the Winfield Racing Team, Scaife just walks back into the garage area, talks with Freddie Gibson. In the meantime, the 17 car that inherits the lead comes on into the pits with Dick Johnson and John Bowe about to take over from Dick, and that will put the 30 car with David Parsons and Glenn Seaton into the lead here at Mount Panorama.
Yes, but this is the kind of psychological edge that the Shell team want. John Bowe will be very aware of that Winfield car parked down there. He'll know now that the full load of gas. Car's been running effortlessly. No brake problems with this one. The 18 car had some trouble at the front end, but no. Wheels, speed line wheels straight on there. No worries at all. Topping it up. The 120 liters going in. Safety pins going into the wheels. Everybody seems to be calm and collected. No rut ride. We hear them shouting. Ready to go. Meanwhile, back under the Winfield car. No, Dick still struggling. This seatbelts is causing people a lot of trouble. New seatbelt rules this year that have created a bit of havoc, and hard to get the driver in and out.
17 was in first place. Big cheer going up from the crowd as John Bowe steps back into the car. It now runs fourth on the road. So it is all happening here at Mount Panorama.
Well, this is a place where you don't count your chickens until they hatch, and we're only 66, 67 laps into 160, so plenty of things can happen to anybody still. The dreaded kiss of death, lunchtime stop. We've always said if you can get past lunch, get that second stop away, you've got a chance. It seems if something horrible is going to go wrong, you don't get to go by lunch break.
Car 30 is in the lead with Glenn Seaton at the moment, but they are preparing to pit as well. Well, David Parsons is at the wheel,
yeah.
So they're preparing to pit as well, so they're going to surrender the lead themselves very shortly.
Yes, we... here we have him, John Bow. He's had a nice rest and ready to do battle again. He's not fooling around. He said, fine, thank you very much. I'll go by this Falcon. He's let Parsons go by.
Yeah, I think Parsons has decided he's bound for the pits. He doesn't want to get into a brawl here with the 18 car.
No, there he goes.
So he heads into the pits, and this car comes into the pits leading the race. Car number 30, the Peter Jackson car, shared today by David Parsons from Tasmania. He's trying to get everything unhooked, get his own plastic back under the control, get the belts ready.
Trying to make it as easy as possible for the incoming driver. There's a good sign of a co-driver. He's throwing his seat out. He doesn't care about that.
Let's go to Andy.
Thanks, Mike. Yet again, another regulation stop. And the way these Tasmanians are going, everyone's going to want one for a co-driver with John Bow and David Parsons. Glenn Seaton is getting into the number 30 Peter Jackson car at the moment. Again, a regulation stop, the wheels and fuel. Also in the pits at the moment, the number 7 Coca-Cola car.
Thanks very much, Andy. And 7 car ready to come out. Wayne Gardner back behind the wheel. We'll see how quick 17 goes by with John Bow, and Glenn Seaton's coming out of the pit lane, and they will come onto the front straight or the mountain straight. Watch this. Here's the battle for the lead at the Toohey's 1000. Johnson first, Seaton now second, and Grice back in third.
Dick Johnson will love this. He doesn't mind a battle. He just wants an even break, and that was certainly one of them. To come from fourth, take the lead, and have Glenn sneak in there behind him. It'll just take a lap for Glenn to settle down. Dick got the advantage of being on the fly, and his tires right up to temp. Probably more temp than he wants. But Bridgestone's like a little bit of a warm-up, but it won't take long for Glenn to get back into gear. And just the thought that this race is back in his grasp, the Holden Racing team in the barn, Winfield in the pit lane, is now looking very much like a duel of drivers between these two great Ford fellows.
Our folks at Prime Investigations, no, they're not doing divorce investigations. This is our radar that checks for the day. And guys, you don't know who they are. Who would you say is the quickest on the Conrod Straight? We'll go?
Oh, gosh.
Quick?
No, I don't.
Craig Lowndes. I'd say one of the Falcons.
Which one?
I don't know. See?
This car. Not this one, but it's the Johnson car. 2:78 is the fastest time on Conrod today. Peter Brock, 05, 2:77, and Glenn Seaton, 2:73. So 5 clicks the difference between the 18 and the 30 car.
Gee, this is the car that was down on horsepower and didn't handle.
Let's go down to Andy.
Yeah, the number 11 Castrol car coming in. No brake pads this time around. Larry Perkins getting back into the car. And I tell you what, that is the quickest pit stop all day by probably a good 6 or 7 seconds. Excellent work by the Castrol crew.
Thanks, Andy.
That was a fabulous stop, and Larry obviously anxious to get chomping on the bit.
11 was 8th and rejoined 9th, so it only dropped a spot. Let's go down and see if we can find out exactly what happened with Mark Scaife and Mark Osler.
Thanks, Mike. Yes, I'm here with Mark Scaife, absolutely dripping with sweat. You've been working hard out there, son, but what a shattering way to go out of the race. What was it?
Well, it is, Mark. It's broke the front yoke, the universal yoke, on the tail shaft, which then broke the back of the gearbox and tore all the floor. But really, you know, the car was just a jet. It was unbelievably good. We were cruising around doing low 15s, you know.
You said at Sandown with that problem with the grub screw and the idle problem there, just a tiny little problem put you out there. You were really looking forward to Bathurst, weren't you?
Well, you know, all week the car's been competitive. I think we've shown this morning how good the car was. And like as I said, we've never broken one ever. So that's the game we play. Obviously, we'll be back another day and we'll see what it does.
Well, even though you've gone out of the race, you've proved for, what, 60 or 70 laps that you really are a quality team. You've had a very difficult year coming back from that crash early in the year, but you just showed absolutely dominant form here this morning.
Well, as I said, you know, since we rolled it out on Wednesday, the car was fantastic. And, you know, in the first part of the race, we were looking after the car and obviously it showed its performance. It's really, I feel really sorry for the guys because they've been working incredibly hard and the car was great and obviously very disappointed for them.
I bet Jimmy's a bit disappointed too. He showed here that he really does have the speed when you give him the right equipment, doesn't he?
Oh, well, absolutely. He's always had the speed. That's how it is. And Jimmy this morning drove the car absolutely perfectly. Our fuel economy was fantastic. There was hardly a thing that was wrong.
Well, we'll look forward to coming back next year, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, very gracious, Alan.
Yeah, very gracious. And I think Mark, newly married, the young baby.
Belinda, his wife we spoke to last night, and young Mitchell, the youngster.
Anytime you can get out of a car with that amount of disappointment behind you and keep half a smile and try to be gracious, that's the sign of a champion.
You'd rather go out of this race with the floor opened up than go out with a 20-cent part.
Exactly.
Alan Grice in car number 35 heads across the line.
And he's leading the race on our Shell race score at the moment. Alan Grice in front from the Dick Johnson 17 Shell FAI Falcon holding down second. Then Glenn Seaton in third spot. Tony Longhurst in fourth in the Castrol Falcon. Fifth spot held down by Anders Olofsson and Steve Richards. Sixth place, Neil Crompton. Then Wyn Percy and Brad Jones in seventh spot. Larry Perkins, Russell Ingall in the Castrol Commodore in eighth. Charlie O'Brien and Stephen Johnson in ninth position. And Tony Scott and John Cleland are in 10th position. That's the way it stands in the great race at Mount Panorama. On the track at Mount Panorama with 70 laps down, you're now looking at 1-2 on the track in the lead, the duel for the lead in the great race, because Dick Johnson has just taken over command again at the head of the pack, because car 35, which had several laps of glory with Alan Grice at the wheel, after leading, has gone to the pits for a driver change. Alan Jones behind the wheel. They've now returned to the circuit. We'll get the placing for you in a moment, but that has allowed Dick Johnson to assume command once more, but hotly pursued by Glenn Seaton.
Here we are on McDonald's race cam, and you can see Glenn Seaton in the nervy part of the track having to shadow a very tough customer. Nobody's going to drive by Dick Johnson in a hurry, and he's just shadowing him. He's not in a position to get by him, but he's certainly harassing him. Wounded car limping down the inside of the side of the track there. Here we are in Forest Elbow, past Tire Power, down onto Conrod. Two Falcons. Let's see what the horsepower looks like. One coming out of Queensland, one coming out of Dandenong in Victoria. Glenn's father Bo on the engines all of his career here for Glenn has never produced a bad one. So Glenn holding station, not able to round Dick up on this one.
We should mention, Alan, that the Falcons in fact are running first, second, third and fourth.
Gee, that doesn't sound too bad, does it?
Well, now just ahead of Dick Johnson's car, which is being driven by John Bow at the moment, is the 18 car, the team car, the second car. Now, would this be a dilemma? Obviously, he'd want to keep ahead of Seaton all the time, but then he's going to put his teammate down a lap if there's a pace car situation.
Wouldn't come into his head, mate. That's just another car out there. Nice one to be in his own colors, but at the moment he's got one thing in mind. He's leading the biggest race in the country. He knows how to do it. He's done it before, and he just doesn't want to let one little thing escape his advantage at the moment. And he's got a guy behind him that's got the same thing in mind.
There is JB at work, heading up Mountain Straight.
Hear them clunk down through that gearbox. Absolutely fantastic gearboxes. You hear me raving about them, and I rave about them because they're an Australian invention. Peter Hollinger has made this his lifetime work. He sells them around the world to Mitsubishi. He sells them to Germany, to BMW, and we have a world-class component in this car.
0.7 of a second, the gap between the two leading cars at the moment. As into the pits comes the Waldock entry, and with a puncture again.
Yes, hurting on the right front. He's got to nurse it into the, make sure that it doesn't lock up there under the wheel well when the rubber starts flaying like that. We saw it with Larry earlier in the day.
Well, Andy Raymond's down there. AJ?
Yeah, quite extensive damage on the right front tyre. In fact, part of the tyre when the Waldock car came into the pits locked up, and part of the rubber ended up sort of under the back wheels. What they're doing at the moment is changing the front brake pads. A little bit of wear and tear, as we found out in the Stephen Johnson car earlier, a driver change. And they're not going to win the race today, but they're certainly doing a fantastic job for Team Komatsu. Let's go down to Mark Osler, who's with no doubt a pretty tired Alan Grice.
Indeed, a tired Alan Grice. Boy, you've been working hard out there. You're working up a sweat, Alan. Must be very hot in those cars today.
Yeah, it is very hot. It's not a matter of smoke gets in your eyes, it's a matter of sweat gets in your eyes. But very happy with the way it's going. The tyres were getting squishy, which is a funny term, but it means that you've got to be very accurate. If you try to get in a bit faster at understeer, you'll be booted a little bit hard at oversteer. So As long as you remain very accurate with it, that's fine. So we're still doing the times. In fact, I think we're in the lead for a minute.
Just tell me, these changes to the Falcon, do you think they'll be having these tyre problems if they hadn't made these these changes to the aerodynamics of the Falcon? Do you believe they'd be having these tyre problems if they hadn't let the cars alone?
Fancy asking a politician a question like that.
I thought you might give me an honest answer.
I don't know. I think that the biggest problem we've got in the cars is not through the kink at the end of the straight. I don't find the car understeers there. It's where the road drops away from under the car, and just for a moment the air gets under it, and then the car just jumps about half a metre sideways. But once you dial in to know that the thing's going to jump at the fence at about 280 k's, is not a problem.
Thanks, Gracie. Best of luck.
Might not be a problem for him, Gary.
But all politicians know that it's an advantage to know which way the other bloke's going to jump before he actually does it. And Alan Grice has gained from that experience in the Queensland Parliament for the last 2 terms. The honourable member for Broadwater did a good job there for the Peter Jackson team in the 35 car. Alan Jones is now back in that vehicle and running in. He slipped back to 7th spot because of that pit stop. But we've still got Falcons running 1, 2, 3 at the head of the pack. John Bauer in the Shell FAI car, then Glenn Seaton for Peter Jackson, then Tony Longhurst in the Castrol Falcon. The first of the Commodores at this stage is the Anders Olofsson car number 2, the second of the Winfield cars. Let's check them out, in fact, on the Shell race score. Johnson, Bauer lead the field. Seaton passed in 2nd spot. Longhurst and Park hold down 3rd. Olofsson, Richards, that's Stephen Richards in 4th position, and 5th spot being held by Gardner, Crompton, Jones and Percy. 2nd Coke car is 6th. Then Jones and Grice in 7th, Persons and Ingle in 8th. O'Brien and Johnson holding down 9th, and rounding out the top 10, we've got Tony Scott and John Clellan in the pinnacle. Commodore, the great race continues to unfold here at Mount Panorama.
The 1995 edition of the Tooheys 1000 continues. Lap 74 or 161 completed with 2 hours, 54 and 40 seconds into the big race. Here's the man who continues to lead, John Bauer, car number 17. As we went to the break, you probably caught sight of the fact Glenn Seaton was having some difficulty trying to get past the 18 car.
Gee, I wonder.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
A little bit of team tactics there, where Junior Johnson just giving John a little bit of a leg up there, making it hard for Glenn to get by.
And he certainly grabbed a hold of it, John Bauer, and taking advantage of it, trying to stretch the lead now over Seaton. This is a very important time in the race for everybody, but for the Shell FAI team with their car in front. They might be able to stamp some authority on the race now that we've had, some of the top teams drop out, fall by the wayside. If they can just gain a good solid break now, it'll set them up for a big finish this afternoon.
Well, the forte of this, Alan, the forte of this team is all about endurance racing and the understanding between both drivers and the team owner.
The great pairing between John and Dick is just a superb combination. John Bell running around now, driving extremely well at a 2:15.8. He is trying to shake off Glenn Seaton. He knows that's no cowboy he's got behind him. He's got some tough competition, and he's trying to, there you see him looking in the rearview mirror, just trying to let Glenn know there's no point in trying to chase me, man. I've got you on toast.
There's the split, 2.47 seconds. 2.47 the split between Bauer trying to get something out of it, and not so much Hard Yacker and the Little Macca. Glenn Seaton.
The biggest margin in this race all day has been 10 seconds. That was the lead Jim Richards had earlier. The leader has never had a bigger gap than that at any point.
Glenn's team looking very good. He's won as many races as John Bauer in the Shell Australian Championship Series. This one has always eluded him. Sat on pole last year. Had a big slide job at Repco yesterday, which meant that took care of any aspirations of a pole starting spot. But he works up the Kevin Waldock car, just does a little fiddle there. He's cool, calm, and not looking all that bad. You're keeping your eyes on the Fries?
Hello, Mike.
How are you, mate?
Pretty good. Having a good time.
Were you held up by the 18 car? No?
It's one of those things.
You're beginning to be so diplomatic in your old age.
Well, you have to in this sport, Alan. No, I'm enjoying it. The car's really good, in really good condition. Where our car seems to be good on Dick's car is across the top of the mountain. Our car seems to be really good. And
So you feel you've got John in sight? He's not getting away from you?
No, not at all. I've just lost a bit through traffic just before, but starting to catch you back now.
Okay.
All right, I'll let you have a dairy cream. Talk to you later.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Bye, sir. doing all right. Hung around in this one most of the races in past years, only to finish with a mechanical problem. It's good to see him sprinting after John Bower. He's happy. The car seems to be rock solid. That looks like the Edwin Lamont and Graham Golson car in the pit area. That's been there for a while too, the Delco parts machine.
Another lunchtime voodoo. Hasn't made it through. 3 hours into the race. Ones that are running now have got a pretty good statistical chance of continuing to run.
It's Graham Golson in the car. Ed Lamont, who did the stint, came in. They're a great family, the Golsons. Ray Golson, the dad, Tanya, the daughter, Graham, the son. He's been right behind his kids in their motorsport, and he's helped them along. It's great to see.
It really is. And he runs a fine business in Canberra. A lot of happy customers in the Canberra area when it comes to their cars from Golson's.
Yep. Let's hope they can continue. The second of the Winfield team cars. And Jimmy Richards led this race, but his youngster, and Anders Olofsson, the cool Swede, share the second of the Winfield Commodores. Stephen Richards having his first run here. And Freddie Gibson trying to bring on young talent. I think that's great to see. Stephen Richards, a product of the Formula Fords and the Tiny Tourers, stepping up into the V8s for Bathurst, and he's got a ton of potential.
Stephen behind the wheel at the moment. His partner Anders Olofsson, he must have been here, what, 7, 8 years successively.
He's another new Australian, and for a Swede, he speaks extremely good English.
We hold nothing against Canadians or Swedes.
We've got a flat tire here on Tony's car.
Tony Longhurst's car coming into the pits with a flat, trying to gingerly guide it through here, get it back into pit lane. Andy will be there for us to bring us. The car's just slipped back into 7th. It was up as high as 5th as they bring the 25 Castrol Ford into pit lane. Take it away, Andy.
Actually, Mike Longhurst was in fact up into 4th position according to the scoreboard. We're on lap 76 now. Tony Longhurst started in position number 9 on his 38th birthday here today. He's done an absolutely fantastic job, as has Wayne Park. What we're going through now at the moment is a driver change, fuel, tyres, and they had a little fiddle with the pads. Everything was A-OK there. They just checked it, and a fairly quick stop for Team Longhurst, and these Castrol boys seem to have got everything sorted out today. As I say, that Wayne Park misses a gear. He's off again in a puff of smoke.
Yeah, Wayne's stalled it on 2 occasions today in the pits.
Yes, fortunately it started very quickly, and Tony right there at the side of the car to give it a push. Any little relief you can give the clutch on that takeoff is mercifully received by the clutch. It runs at a hell of a temperature.
Came in 4th spot, resumed after the pit stop in 7th position, car 25.
Looking now at Stephen Richards, and as Michael alluded to, it hasn't taken him long for Dad to get him up here next to him. It's fantastic, the father-son combinations at the moment. Very big in America, where families, traditions have gone on for decades with various families, and it's starting here in Australia with the Johnsons now in the Richards.
Comes up the end of pit straight, bound for the top of the hill. Anders Olofsson, charming, delightful gentleman. Really enjoys coming out to run this race each year for Freddie Gibson. And Stephen Richards, as Alan said, another one of the second-generation boys running at Bathurst today. Dick Johnson and Stephen are out there and doing a pretty fair job.
So this is a credit to Fred Gibson. He's now responsible for a number of winners and grinners here. He brought Glenn Seaton through his team. He brought this fellow into the team, and Mark Scaife, of course. Quite a compliment to Gibson Motorsport and the guidance that Freddie gives these young fellas.
A number of teams have experienced tyre and handling problems, and we've mentioned the fact that the heats probably had something to do with that. It was bitter cold in Bathurst early in the week. We've had some dry, pleasant, fine days since then, but then today they've just turned on the heat for us, and the track temperature at the moment is over 34 degrees.
Yes, and
that was not anticipated.
No, the tyre companies that set up their positions around the weather earlier in the week, some of them have been caught out, and certainly a difficult choice for the Dunlop teams, because they only had a couple of compounds to choose from, still suffering from the earthquake in Kobe, where their full production had to be transferred to England. And many viewers have heard us talk about this during the year, but believe me, it's not an easy problem for them.
Race leader John Bower, car number 17. We'll check them out, the full grid, how they're running for you on lap number 77. They hold a 2.59 second advantage over Glenn Seaton, who is at the wheel there. Then we've got Anders Olofsson, 10 seconds further back, running in third spot. Gardner and Crompton in the 7 car running fourth, and Jones and Percy in the second car running fifth.
Sixth place held down by Jones and Grice, the second Peter Jackson car, then Longhurst and Park in the Castrol Falcon, Perkins, Engel in the Castrol Commodore, then O'Brien and Johnson in the second Shell FAI car, and Scott and Cleland in the Pinnacle Commodore in 10th position.
In 11th spot, number 3, the Ashby Reed Lansvale Smash Repairs Commodore, 1 spot ahead of Parsons and Crick in the Parsons Transport car. Then 33, Bob Pearson and Bruce Stewart doing well there in the Product Commodore. Then Poole and Ed Ordinsky in the John Deere Motorsport Commodore. Waldock and McLaughlin in the Team Komatsu Falcon running 15th.
16th spot and 4 or 5 laps down on the leader. O'Brien and Callahan in 16th place. Then Lamont Gulson holding down 17th. Taylor and Bell 18th in the Xerox Commodore. Attard and Crick in 19th position. Heffernan and Voigt in 20th.
Out on lap number 65, the car that has now shown us 21st, Scaife and Richards, that Commodore. Out on lap 54, Finnegan and Gazzard in the Sony Autosound Commodore. Romano and Dunstan, 23rd listed, and 24th is Russell and Shaw. Cotter and Dillman were out on the 40th lap after that hit with the wall, the connection coming out of BP.
Out on lap 35, Palmer and Peters. Brock and Mazzira went out on lap 32. Larkham and Rooklyn out on lap 22. Shembry and Moore out on lap 19. And Medicki and Noski, I'm afraid, in the Synovus Falcon didn't get past lap 15.
Lowndes and Murphy went out on the 10th, and McLeod and McLeod, unfortunately, the first out of the race. Don't go away. We're back at Bathurst with more.
And welcome back to Bathurst. Almost at halfway, 23 cars still going, 8 on the 1 lap. We look at some of the highlights from the third hour. The privateers, it's been a day of attrition, but they're hanging on pretty well. John Cleland with Pinnacle, they're currently in 10th position. They'll be pretty happy with all of that. Dick Johnson had to tell Charlie O'Brien to get out of the way as he was making his charge towards the lead. The 17 car going past the 18 car. He was in hot pursuit of Mark Scaife and Jim Richards, and this was the disaster that befell them. They'd been dominant throughout the proceedings in the first 2.5 hours, but on lap 65, out self-destructing. Problem with the universal joint and a tail shaft to the Winfield car out. This was exciting. Glenn Seaton and John Bower. Have a look at this. As Seaton came out and Bower was just able to pass him, at this stage, they were in 2nd and 3rd place. They were chasing Alan Grice, who had 5 or 6 laps in the lead. Grice came in. They had to give up the lead. Alan Jones went back in, but both the Peter Jackson cars are going very strongly at the moment. No real major problems with this pit stop, but for here it was for Waldorf and McLaughlin yet again with tyre problems. They're still running at the moment. They're one of the 23 cars that are out there. They're about 3 or 4 laps behind, but Dick Johnson, still going great guns, is out in front of Glenn Seaton as we speak. And watch and win just been tough, hasn't it, today? Trying to pick first, second and third, it seems to change every half an hour. Hope you're enjoying that contest. 0055 606 77. That's how you enter. Then you add your own telephone number. The prize of beauty is a fabulous SS Commodore valued at $42,300. You've got until 3 o'clock, so about 2 hours left to put in your nomination for 1, 2, 3. That number, 0055 606 77.
Thank you, Bruce. Updating us with action at Mount Panorama. Car number 17, John Bower. That gap is reasonable. No, it's come down, actually. John Bower is starting to fall back into the clutches of Glenn Seaton. It was out to 2.5, if you recall, before the last break, and Glenn has brought that down to 1.97.
Well, when we talked to him last, he said he wasn't worried about John, that he wasn't getting away from him, and it appears that that's the case.
I tell you, would be enjoying today's telecast. That's John Thompson, who we all know on the Australian touring car circuit, has done so much with all the signage and everything for Shell. And I think he had a bit of a concern with the Nicky Ticker in Tasmania a week or 2 weeks ago, and he's recuperating. He's back home in Melbourne. So to you, John, from all the people close to motorsport, we hope that you're recuperating well. Yes. Here's the guy that's going to make life uncomfortable, perhaps in the closing stages, for John Bower.
Well, this is a battle for sure. He's close enough, and certainly John will have no difficulty seeing that flash of blue in his rearview mirror.
And Anders Olofsson and young Stephen Richards running in the number 2 car in 3rd spot. And I think, as I understand it, that Watch and Win competition, the new Holden Commodore V8 SS, valued at $42,000. If a Commodore gets up and wins, there's a car each to the winning drivers. And if you're running a Ford to the line first, you pick up 50, as I understand, Alan.
$50,000 from the Ford Motor Company, yes. As
is that per driver?
Yes, I believe it is. If I can speak on behalf of the Ford management.
Thanks, Al. Be the first thing that you know.
We've had
$50,000 to the car.
$50,000 to the car. You're just going to get Johnson and Seaton to pick up a notch there, but it's good to at least see the manufacturers getting behind their drivers. Holden with that great incentive. Theirs worth $84,000. A Holden Commodore to the winning drivers if a Commodore gets across the line. Ford with 50 grand to the team who gets a Ford over the line first.
And let's not forget, the prize money is $100,000 to win.
Yep.
That's quite a respectable Sunday drive.
And on top of Ford's
We'd like to see it twice that much, but that's all right.
On top of Ford's money and the winning prize money, if Glenn Seaton were to get home, of course, he's got the 30 grand for the 30th anniversary of his dad's win here in '65.
There's car number 7, the Wayne Gardner, Neil Crompton, Coca-Cola. A split from 3rd back to them in 4th. There's 5.23 seconds. Stephen, that's the Winfield number 2 car ahead of them on the racetrack. And behind them, Brad Jones and Win Percy in the 2nd of the Coke Commodores. And I tell you, this is a great effort from Wayne Gardner's team. I mean, Wayne could have picked up anything to have gone back to motorcycle racing. The figures thrown around are somewhere around about 10 to 15 million US to step back on a bike again, because they're a little shy in people with charisma. Still 500cc World Series, and
take him back tomorrow, wouldn't they?
Absolutely, but Wayne is committed to this. Got a great team. Alan Heafy, Wally Story, Neil Crompton, all working together. Good sponsor in Coco, I think, support everything they're doing, and no doubt about it, they win the PR stakes hands down across Australia. They've got more going for them and more ideas, so they do it very, very well. And it's good to see them producing a great result at Bathurst today.
Good run here. It's no accident. It's very hard work. I said earlier, getting 1 car to the line is a hell of a job. To get 2 is a monstrous job, and to keep them running is an extremely difficult job.
Running in 4th place at the moment, Wayne.
There's Brutus.
Hey, there he is.
There's our public relations
PR department. G'day, Brutus. Hanging loose.
Wayne Gardner, of course, led the race through the first corner, won the start, led for the first 5 laps. We've had 5 different cars lead the race thus far, and positions have changed, of course, once or twice. But Gardner led laps 1 through to 5, then Richards and Scaife led from laps 6 through to 64. Johnson and Bow have had a large share of the lead, and Seaton and Alan Jones in the 2 Peter Jackson cars have led briefly at different stages of the race.
So Team Coca-Cola continues. Oh, there's another gear change as he heads on up the hill. That's the 2nd of the PJ cars heading up to Repco Bend. Car number 35, Alan Jones and Alan Grice. Wouldn't it be just great to see Glenn bring 2 of them home today?
It's very possible. These 2 haven't had any major problems, and they've been running like clockwork, and we better not say too much. We don't want to put the Moz on them.
Well, if that's what it takes to do it, just our comments, it'd leave us at home. They head up to Toohey's Hill over the speed camera, the top of the mountain.
Down into the dip here. Left-hander, very flowing part of the circuit, but these 2 ripples are waiting for you. Dab of the brakes as you go over McPhillamy for the very fast left-hander, and now on the brakes. Let it glide over the hill, a little bit of jab on the gas here. Right, then left through the dip. Driver does get thrown around a bit through the dip. Accelerates like crazy here, going downhill. They really do move. And now on the brakes for this left-hander.
That's 6th place on the racetrack. And as he heads on to Conrod Straight, there's the 7th place driver in the field, Larry Perkins and Ingle in the Castrol Commodore number 11.
Great recovery by them. They've come from 26th on the first lap after their puncture.
Where would this bloke be running if he hadn't had the stop after 4 laps for a quick tyre change?
Yes. Doesn't he just know it at the moment too? But a very good recovery. Just shows you never give up, and that's applicable in any sport.
Yes, you never know what fate is going to befall the people in front of you in a race like this. It's despite the speed and despite the ever-shrinking overall time in which the race is run, it is still a marathon. No doubt about that.
Yes, it sure is, and the only aspect that changes it from a marathon is the fact that they do have a few helpers under the bonnet in the form of about 550 horsepower, but not to take anything away from these fellas. They work extremely hard.
Going through car number 25, Wayne Park and Tony Longhurst, the Castrol Ford. They've had slight problems. The pace car really upset their rhythm earlier today. I mean, the car was up to 4th at one stage. So John Sawzak and all the team from Castrol, they should be well pleased. There's the David Attard car coming into the pit area, the Alcare air conditioning car. Co-driven by Greg Crick, the Tasmanian driver.
Bonnet up, and somebody saying, shut it down. No activity on the tires, car's not in the air, so engine trouble here for this team. We pick up Lansville.
Yeah, this is the Trevor Ashby, Steve Reed car. Apparently has got a hole in the right-hand exhaust manifold, and the driver is getting burnt on the foot. It's been dancing around on the hot plate there for the last 5 or 6 laps.
Trevor Ashby's always had a hot foot, hasn't he?
Yes, always has.
Well, that is quite dangerous. John Bowe had it happen to him in a Sierra where he burnt his foot quite badly. It does get extremely hot, radiant heat up from the exhaust pipes.
Have a look at this. John Bowe leads this race, coming up behind Trevor Ashby. Can't afford to get held up. Yes, down the inside. Look, there's Team Blue right behind him, Glenn Seaton. That's come down from 2.5 to 1.2 seconds. So whether Glenn's just taking his time and letting the pressure build on John Bowe, we'll have to wait and see. At this stage, he would like to get past that car in front of him.
Well, good sporting move there. Ashby got out of the way.
David Attard and Greg Crick we saw in the pit a moment ago in the Alcare car. They've got a broken valve spring.
Oh.
It only takes one.
So we have a great race going here. We have the lead being disputed, 1.2 seconds. I'll tell you, it's a lot less than that now.
Now Glenn's applying serious pressure here now to John Bowe. Just look at the flow of these guys. Roaring around here, 216.5, 216.7 respectively. Not to be sneezed at.
In third place, being held down by Stephen Richards in the second Winfield car. And it's Wayne Gardner, Brad Jones, the 2 Coke cars run 5th and 6th. Larry Perkins is 7th. Wayne Park, Tony Longhurst in 9th. And Stephen Johnson and Charlie O'Brien run in one spot behind them. Then it's the Englishman John Clellan in the Pinnacle Motorsport Nokia entry.
Glenn Seaton is driving with his head here, not his heart. He is really just got this car waltzing. He knows he doesn't want John to get too far away, but by the same token, he's not just going to heat up his tires and lunge himself at him. He's quite happy to be able to keep him in sight. He's certainly got that. It's less than a chip shot in front of him. Of course, the way you play, Mike, it might call that a drive, but
never. Actually, the fastest man on the track at the moment is Larry Perkins, who's doing laps of 2:14.6.
That's commendable.
But Larry really needed to have a huge advantage with a yellow flag and a pace car to close him up, because he's been battling from behind all day after that pit stop for a tyre that went off in the first 2 laps of the race.
The big duel, obviously, here at the front between the Shell FAI car and Glenn Seaton and the Peter Jackson machine. But Alan, with 8 cars still on the front running lap, is going to make these last pit stops absolutely vital, because one slip in the pits is just going to hand victory to somebody else.
Exactly, but we're looking at wear down tactics here. John Bowe going only as fast as he has to stay in front. Glenn saying, I'm happy enough with this. I'm not going to let you get more than a couple of car lengths away. And both these drivers know that this is the segment where this race can be won or lost.
Great race continues. Let's get out of the pits to Richie Hay.
Thank you, Mike. Well, I'm with Greg Crick. And Greg, problems for the car. They said it was a valve spring, but I gather it's more than one.
Yes, there were 2 broken valve springs on the right-hand bank when I went back out after the stop, and the car was still very flat, so we've come back in to find another one broken on the left-hand bank. Effectively, it's the end of the day for us, but, you know, we're having a good run while we were going.
And it's not the first time it's happened to the car either?
No, we had the same problem at Sandown, and oddly enough, it was immediately after our first pit stop, on the lap after our first pit stop at Sandown, that we had the problem, but we went a bit further today.
Okay, thanks, Greg.
Thank you very much, boys. The race still continues, and when I say the race, I mean the race for the lead spot between John Bauer in 17 and Glenn Seaton in car number 30.
Yes, you saw a serious little weave to the left there, John, using every bit of real estate that was available to him. He knows that he's got serious problem on his back bumper bar here. And he's whistling this 17 car around with everything he's got.
The gap started out, Alan, I think, 50 minutes ago at 2.47. Yeah, 5. Then it went 2.47, 1.9, 1.8, 1.2. The gap is now visible. 5.
Yes, the gap is visible.
Let's call it mirror distance.
Mirror distance, you said it. But 2 fabulously prepared teams, 2 great drivers. They're holding up the esprit de corps of their teams. They won't make a driving error.
No.
But they are trying to push each other into the ground here.
Yes, they're playing mind games here. Who's got the strongest Falcon? Show me yours and I'll show you mine.
Glenn just riding the curve a little bit there. He's comfortable doing that. He's done that twice in a row. Here we have the number 2 Winfield car in.
Let's go down to Marcos Lamarck.
Thank you, Michael. Yes, looks like they were trying to look at a pad change there, but no, they're going to continue on until the next stint. No pad change on the front as expected. Stephen Richards getting out, Anders getting in. Keep in mind, Stephen Richards, they ducked in for a quick top-up of fuel when their pace car was out, so he's done a marathon stint, something over 45 laps, I would imagine, so he's been in the car a very long time. We'll talk to him a bit later on, but he is absolutely dripping with perspiration.
Thank you, Mark.
Quick stop, just under 30 seconds.
Thanks, mate. It is very, very tight as they come across the mountain.
Yes, Glenn is serving notice now. He's doing a little bit more than harassing. He's really...
The Anders Olofsson car, Stephen Richards' car, came into the pits running in 3rd, rejoins the race in 6th as we go to Forest Elbow, tyre power turn, and through here onto Conrod Straight. I mean, if your 30 car is running just beautifully, and you haven't got a stretch, you're just going to sit in behind John, run it hard, but sit there for a while. You can play some great mind games, couldn't you, Al?
Well, he is, but unfortunately, John is almost immune to people behind him. He won't be pressured by Glenn, but he'll certainly be very aware that he's there, and he knows that he wants to bring this car home in this stint so that he can hand it over to Dick, hoping that maybe the blue car might not have such an efficient pit stop. But he just doesn't really want to relinquish the lead here.
Speaking of pit stops, about 12 laps and these cars will both be in.
Yes, trying to pick which lap to come in on to get the advantage.
And now we're experiencing, just sitting here and watching and almost driving the cars with these fellows, how fast the laps are going by. We said this was a 1,000-kilometer sprint race, but the first 32 laps, we were waiting for that pit stop. Now they just seem to be popping up at 32 laps going by like they were 3 or 4. And that's what's happening to the drivers as well. There's Dick looking very worried. You should be in the tent, mate, resting. Never mind out there worrying.
That's the owner's prerogative, isn't
well, yes, but a lot of rest can go a long way here. He can't do anything. He doesn't need to worry about what John's doing.
Perkins still the quickest, 2:14.6 lap after lap. Leaders running John Bauer to 2:14.9. And Glenn Seaton to 2:15 even.
Looks like a tire smoke going into these corners, but in fact it's the engine overrun. Quite a bit of soot coming through the system when the fellows put their foot on the brakes. So don't be dismayed when you see that smoke coming out. Quite normal with the gas flow that these engines absorb.
Tight across Skyline. Nothing between them now.
No, Seaton is really getting hairy here.
Seaton telling John, we've sat in this order for a while. I'd like to have a turn at leading it. And John's basically suggesting he has to take it away from him.
Glenn was making the point that his car felt very, very comfortable across the top, and when we say across the top, he meant, of course, all the way across down to Forest Elbow, and I think he felt that that John is holding him up a bit there, but certainly on Conrad, there's not much difference between the horsepower of these two cars.
This flat strap 17 car, Glenn Seaton. Well, those radar times that we had earlier, Alan, they almost indicate the 18 car has probably a 5-click buffer over number 30. Glenn's making all his up across the top of the mountain.
Yes, well,
let's have a look at the Shell race score. Our thanks to Shell. Johnson and Bow, lap 87, just nothing in it. 0.49 of a second over Seaton and Parsons. Then it's Gardner and Crofton in third spot. Back in fourth, Jones and Percy, and fifth, Jones and Grace. Sixth is Olofsson and Richards, the number 2 car. Then it's Perkins and Eagle in the Castrol Commodore. Longhurst and Parker, the 25 car, running 8th. 9th is 18, O'Brien and Johnson, and 10 is Scott and Cleland. So Johnny Cleland from the UK still hanging in there in the top 10. And we'll be back in just a tick or two. 1,000 continues as we work the lead spot. Lap 89 of 161, almost 3.5 hours into the race, and it's been getting closer and closer. During the break, we had Seaton sitting right on the bumper of John Bow all the way up the mountain. Now, the only place where he appears to be losing out is on the run down Conrod Straight.
Yes, the Shell car is very quick out of the dipper, Mike, and gives John the advantage of coming in here as long as he holds it nice and trims his way through here nicely, gets a good shot out, and Glenn doesn't seem to be able to get close enough to be able to do that easy slipstream that's available to him here at the into Caltex Chase. He's also pulling out a bit, which indicates he's not really trying to take advantage of the full slipstream. He's not close enough to do it anyway, but he's very lethal across the top and up Mountain Straight. So John Bow under serious attack here from Glenn Seaton.
Actually, if any of them the previous lap, they were nose to tail, and there's a buffer only in this last quarter of a lap that's opened up between John Bow in car number 17 and Glenn Seaton.
Yes, both these cars are not overly full of gas at the moment either, about 9 laps, and they'll both be in for their scheduled stop. So, as I indicated earlier, both drivers trying to work each other over. And now watch Glenn seems to could be just a slightly better torque. He does seem to creep up here on Mountain Straight.
You can see the gap there as they approach Repco. Now from Repco to the top of Skyline, particularly from the cutting, is where Glenn has been making all this time.
He's very fast through that Repco curve.
Exit to BP cutting. Out of this turn. Not as close this lap as he was the previous lap.
Well, John Bow responds to pressure, and this is it. A preeminent touring car race in the world, Australia's best, and trying to hold the lead down, and a car equal in status behind him.
See again how much he makes up over here. And from here on, watch him here, he's dynamite.
Glenn's very comfortable across the top there, Mike, which goes into, there's another adjective, he's very brave.
They take the exit to Firestone turn at the dipper, head on down to Forest Elbow yet again. Well, it's been a busy weekend for the crew, the repair crew here at Mount Panorama. They've had a lot of work to do, but they do it so well with all the apprentices. Tony Warriner is down in the pits with Mark Osler.
Certainly is, thank you, Michael. Tony Warriner, you'd be a very proud man at the moment. That car 30 out there that's dicing for the lead, if it wasn't for you guys, I don't think it'd be out there.
Well, it's one of 7 that we fixed this weekend, so yes, we're very proud to have one up there running so high.
It must be great training for these youngsters. They do a fabulous job on the repair of these cars. They're as good as new.
They work tremendously well, and they're a very talented group of young people.
Now, Brocky's car must have been a great disappointment. You got that thing looking like showroom condition. It was the engines that let it down instead.
Well, that car left our compound at 1:30 this morning, so yeah, it was a bit of a disappointment because we'd worked most of last night on it.
You guys have been here year after year after year. We were talking about unsung heroes in a story earlier this morning. I think you're very part of that group.
I couldn't hear you, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, you're one of the unsung heroes of this race.
Oh, well, I think the team itself, it's just an idea that came together. It's totally an Australian idea that we have, and this is the circuit where it works so well.
Well, we really do value your presence here, Tony Warner. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark Osler and Tony Warner. Yes, you're right. They do a fabulous job here. John Bow in 17 just puts a lap on the David Parsons transport car at the right time. Seaton goes up the inside. They're coming up on the Castrol Falcon of Tony Longhurst and Wayne Park.
This could be interesting.
This will be interesting because...
Sorry for me humming and hawing. Like
yeah, humming and hawing because they're not the best of friends. But anyway, so Seaton is on the move. There he goes over our speed cameras. He chases the tail of the 17 FAI Shell machine, who is coming up on the back of the Castrol Falcon with Tony Longhurst. I'm not sure if it's Longhurst or at the wheel, or whether in fact it's Wayne Park. Wayne Park, I believe.
It doesn't matter really. John Bow doesn't need anybody in front of him that will give Glenn the opportunity to get another couple of inches closer.
He's got a couple in front of him, let me tell you. He's got the Attard car with young David Attard at the wheel, then Wayne Park behind him, coming down to Forest Elbow. No one's been able to capitalise there too much because the cars are so equal across the top of the mountain. Well, given that it doesn't rain here today and all the forecasts, Wilco was a little more confident of it. I don't really believe it will. Without another pace car, you can estimate the time of the race finish around about 4:13 to 4:15. That comes from Alan Horsley, who's our race statistician. He's pretty good here at Mount for the Mazda team. Let me tell you, they've won the 12 hour for 4 years in a row. Look at this. The exit to the chase. Bowie gets away, though, heading down. He's got Wayne Park just in front of him. He's got to dive down the inside here under brakes, is he? And Glenn's there.
Yeah, it's cost him time. It was just unfortunate. The Castrol car was just there when John needed the room to flow through the corner. He'll take him now, but it got Glenn that spot he wanted. He can now chase him up Mountain Straight.
Yes, he'll be right in the slipstream, won't he?
He will. He's there now. He's got either one. Take your choice, Glenn.
I'd go with the yellow one.
I think so.
They head up the straight again. I think it is Wayne Park. Seaton tries to get an advantage and jump out down the inside, and Bowers into a bit of defensive stuff as well. You know, Seaton moved to the inside. Across went John.
He's just trying to get a better line there, Mike. He knows that John can go defensively, but it will be ultimately slower. And Glenn's still trying to muscle up here on him. Camera deflection there looked like he was a little closer than he really was, but he is very close at the moment.
This has been a fabulous race.
It's hard to do as well. Look at that.
Oh, he's got him sideways!
Oh! No, I don't believe he touched him.
No,
I don't believe he did touch him.
Wasn't much in it.
He hit him, but I think John lost it. I don't believe Glenn touched him.
Well, they've gone through. I don't know what damage it's done to the Glenn Seaton car, but they have had a touch. Well, and he's got
hurt.
Coolant coming out of the car.
Yep.
Johnson just can't believe it.
He's devastated, but I honestly don't believe Glenn touched him.
I think there's a dent on the front of them. They're travelling that fast, side by side. And I'll tell you what, the 17 car, Johnson and Bow, whether or not, yes, there was a touch, was mild. But the two of them are running bumper to bumper, and they've run that close for so long, there'd be nothing deliberate in that.
No, I don't believe so. But John Bow mortally wounded here. Not maybe mortally, but boy, he's hurt bad. And just at a time when we're only a few laps away from another scheduled pit stop, Dick Johnson was standing anxiously in the pits, ready to go. There's his team car shooting by. Now we'll have to hold up the glory for Shell. This is a terrible blow. And they can maybe tear some of that front body work around, but it's going to be a long pit stop.
He's going to try and make the pits. He's cutting it up.
Spoiler falling off already, and the tire wearing away on the fiberglass.
Well, I mean, there's one thing you will say, that Seaton and Bow run nose to tail and side by side at every race of the Touring Car Championship. They don't have touches. And after running lap after lap, I was only going to make the point just how professional they are.
Well, I doubt whether John Bow will be too critical of that. If he is, I'll be surprised.
Well, poor old Dick Johnson was watching there in the monitor down in his pit, and you saw the look of absolute mortification, disgust on his face.
Let's go down to Richard. Richie?
Well, thanks, Mike. An awful lot of damage by the looks of things to the front of the car. The spoiler coming off. There's another spoiler here. The team were expecting a car in for a pit stop, but I suspect that was the 18 car, not the 17 car at that point. Now, they're also taking this opportunity to do brake pads, so perhaps there won't be that much time lost, but there's also liquid coming from the front of the car. They shut the engine down now. And this is going to be a bit longer than just a new spoiler and changing the brake pads and the tyres. I'll look underneath the bonnet, and there's an awful lot of water coming out the front of this car at the moment.
Yes, engine coolant. You can see it there running away.
It got the radiator and the green dye coolant preservative.
Well, the order now, Glenn Seaton takes over the race lead. Wayne Gardner runs in second, and Brad Jones. So it's the Peter Jackson car, 2 Coca-Cola cars, then the second Peter Jackson car. So some work to do there. John Bower steps from the car. We'll get a comment from John shortly with the boys. We'll have a look at this on race cam and give you a replay. This is Bower's car. It's hard to tell from there, but he's gone around.
Well, there's Glenn there on the right rear, but whether he got him, but well, I don't believe it was an intentional nudge.
No, we'll find that out. Looks like pulling the car back. Going to take it. Well, that's the product car, Bob Pearson. And Bruce Stewart, that came past. I hope they didn't drop oil all over the racetrack because it was smoking profusely as he came across the start-finishing line, and that looks like Bob Pearson. No, the 17 car is going back into the garage area. They're going to work on it there. They won't give up. They're a very professional team. And, of course, they want to get that out of the way, as Alan Horsley just pointed out, because the 18 car is due in for a pit stop any tick of the clock anyway. There's the 25 car, the Longhurst Wayne Park entry in the pits for a pit stop. And they work on the 17 car. Trying to cut that aside and then get a new front spoiler on, check underneath and see how much damage they've done, because it did connect with the wall.
Well, that leaves Glenn Seaton alone and untouched in front of the field now. On lap 94, 67 laps to go in the great race, and after that unfortunate mishap.
I know he won't be happy about that, but he won't be dwelling on it either. He knows now he's still got a number of laps in front of him that he has to keep concentrating on. There's plenty of blokes behind that would still like to take his position.
Very minor front left damage there on Seaton's car from that. Must have been just the merest touch.
I'd like to hear, first of all, John Bower's explanation of it, because only John and Glenn really know what happened.
Yes, that's true.
Glenn Seaton, car number 30, the Peter Jackson car, continues to lead as we check out the top position. Seaton and Parsons lead in the Falcon, second spot, and that's 25 seconds away. Gardner and Crompton. Third spot, Jones and Percy in the second of the Coke cars. That's an outstanding performance. The Johnson 17 car with John Bower, the Shell FAI Falcon, they're still working on that. It drops down into fourth. Jones and Grice in the second of the Peter Jackson cars runs in fifth. Six spotters, the Olofsson and Stephen Richards, Winfield Racing Commodore, followed then by Perkins and Russell Ingle in the Castrol Commodore up to seventh. Longhurst and Parker next in the Castrol Falcon. Then it's O'Brien and Johnson in the Shell FAI Falcon, and Scott and Cleland. Little Johnny Boy, the 2-litre beater, runs in 10th spot. Don't go away. It's going to get even more exciting. The 1995 to his 1000 continues. Lap 96 of 161. Race time 3 hours 44. The David Parsons, Rodney Crick Parsons transport car, and a spot of bother there with a tyre. And he's headed back for the pit area. Car number 55. So the order remains unchanged with Seaton at the front of the field. Let's go down to the pits now to Richard Hay.
Thank you, Mike, and I've got John Bower with me. JB, what happened?
Richard, these are the emotionless facts. I came out of the cutting, went over the crest. Car slides a bit going over the crest, as it always does. He must have been up inside me slightly, and he's donged me and spun me around. Simple as that. He must think it's a 10-lapper instead of a 160-lapper or something.
It's a terrible disappointment for you, because I know you've hardly lost a race in 14 months now.
Oh, it's not that so much, but I mean, the car was going well, and Dick drove well, and the team did a good job. If you do that sort of thing in a sprint race, they rub you out.
Is the car out, or will it be able to get back in for later?
Mate, they'll fix it, but how good it is after that, I don't know.
All right, thanks, John.
Genuinely upset, I'll eat my words. You don't see John Bow looking like that too often, and maybe Glenn will be feeling a little bit remorseful.
Well, I guess, I mean,
I don't think he could have stopped. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, maybe so. We'll take a race cam with Glenn Seaton in car number 30. Glenn, that was an anxious moment or so.
Yeah, it was, Mike.
Would you like to tell us exactly what happened from your perspective?
Well, from where I was, I went to go up the inside of John, and he's just moved right over on me. So, really, if you have a look at it, it's right off race line. He is. Cuts across the front of me, and I come right up the throttle, brake to try and stop avoiding him, but it was too far up the side of him.
Yeah, they just spoke to Bow, who believes it's your fault, not his.
Ah, well, that's pretty normal for John.
Okay, mate, thanks for that.
Thank you.
That gives both sides of it, doesn't it? John's side of it and Glenn's side. But the only, I guess, if you've got to put some balance into this, they've just driven 20 laps, nose to tail, side by side, across the top of the mountain without one hit.
And no margin for error.
No margin for error. You have one little thing just goes wrong when you're travelling at that speed, something does go wrong.
We do see it happen in Formula One.
Yep. We've heard both sides of it.
Let's watch for John to fade a little bit to the right, as he said.
Let's have a look at the replay. Really don't want to harp too much more on this. It's a racing incident. They come out of the cutting. He was going down the inside of Bow. Whatever they just touched, he went out. Seaton went around. Bow connected with the wall.
Well, if you look at that a few more times, if that
Now, Dick Johnson was anything but happy about that.